My chart speaks to my desire to want to discover the mystery and explore the mystery. What is the mystery? Is life a mystery? Oh my goodness, are we in the mystery? What character am I? Your chart is your gifts. It's your gifts and your challenges. And it will tell you many things about what you're here to discover about yourself and how you can contribute to this world, and just recognize that however heavy things feel, it will pass. Do I know 100% what's going to happen in the future? No, but I can guarantee you what will be happening, which is we are leaving behind an old way of living.
Hey everyone, it's Sophia from Sacred You. Thank you so much for being here. A quick message before we dive into today's conversation. You may have been watching the podcast videos but have not had a chance to hit that subscribe button. So if you have ever gained value from our videos, from our conversations, it would mean so much to us if you would hit that subscribe button below right now, or even just give us a like. And what that means is not only does it allow us to grow our subscriber base, but it allows us to bring in more important guests for you to listen to. And you will be one of the first ones to be notified. So please hit that subscribe button and let's get started on today's conversation. Welcome to the Pathways to Wellbeing podcast. My name is Sophia Soul from Sacred You, and I'm really excited because with us on today's episode is a very special guest, Carolina Velis. Welcome, Carolina. I'm so excited to be talking to you today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. I'm excited to be here and share and talk about one of my favorite subjects. So yeah, let's get into it.
Let's get into it because you're an astrologer and the creative force behind Quest Mystic, which I definitely want to know all about. And you guide spiritually conscious women to decode their birth charts for self-discovery. And that is such a big thing, especially in today's world. People are just curious, really, what happened around the time I was born? What's it going to mean for my whole life? So I really want to get into that. But to start with, Carolina, tell us a little bit about your beautiful self and what first led you to explore the connection between astrology and even our nervous system.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. I'm the founder of Quest Mystic, and I have had a really interesting journey. So what I call it is having had the typical awakening moment. And many of us goes through awakening moments in different ways, in different capacities, and not all are as intense. Okay. And so for me, I had a prior life of what you see here. Like people see me now and they're like, wow, Carolina's super woo, very into the mystics realm. And she talks about astrology 24/7 and she's really obsessed by it. Before this Carolina version was another version of me back in my 20s and 30s. And I'd always been interested in the occult and the woo. But I was very uncomfortable talking about it because sadly society has really created this as a taboo. And what's funny, it's because my chart speaks to all of this. My chart speaks to my desire to want to discover the mystery and explore the mystery. What is the mystery? Is life a mystery? Oh my goodness, are we in the mystery? What character am I? So all these questions go through my brain. And I didn't allow myself to go really deep until I had what is called the Uranus opposition, which all of us go through, and not all of us have a complete flip, which was for me working for a corporation realm, like internet, digital, high tech, all of that, to I'm going to be a dropout and I'm going to be a corporate dropout. I have no idea what I'm going to do next, but I know that it's not going to be this. And I swam in the lost worlds of Neptune, of the mystery of I have no idea what I want to grow up. And that's okay.
That's very
And yeah, and it was through that process that healing came into my life. It's through the process of asking the questions and just allowing myself to explore astrology, because astrology can be very much a dedication. You could really just do high level, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm not that type of person. I'm one to go like really deep. And I wanted to discover all the answers, and then not only discover the answers, then start understanding why is this happening. Meaning there's a system called the astrology. Astrology is a technique, it's a technology, it's a science, it's a language, it's a shortcut, it's many things. And we as humans figured that out. We cataloged it. And then you have to wonder, how is this possible that this happens? And is there like a master plan behind this? So that's where my mind goes. Through this journey, I've spent a lot of time self reflection, self discovery, shadow work, and healing and somatic healing, and utilizing astrology as a influence as well as an insight. So whenever I had conversations with my therapist, I was blessed because they understood some of the astrological language. And at this point, I think all therapists should have astrology in their back pocket, because it would speed up all healing. You could get so fast in such a short, very far in such a short period of time. So, yeah, that's how I've been journeying and navigating this world since I discovered astrology. And now I have a business that helps others understand astrology for themselves, because I feel as if what that astrology at this point in day and age should be one that we all become our own astrologer. We become informed enough about ourselves that we can decode our own habits, our own limitations, and then hopefully journey the cycles with a little bit more of grace and self-awareness and forgiveness. Because everybody's, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I'm like, I know what's going to happen in the future. I know what planets are going to happen in the future. I may not know exactly what's going to happen in my chart, but I know the general like idea. And that can give me, and it does give me like some tranquility, because things are so chaotic.
And I totally agree. I
Yeah.
totally agree. So thank you so, first of all, thank you so much for sharing that. And I love it, a corporate dropout. Totally, totally love it. So for all the corporate dropouts who are listening or watching our podcast, do click on the links below and reach out to Carolina, because I think you'll find a wonderful person just to connect with. And I love it so much, and totally agree, Carolina, that if we could all have a basic understanding of astrology. And yes, as you said, we may not know the exact things that are going to happen in the future, the exact things, but we have an awareness of what the planets are doing and even what they're going to affect. That's the biggest thing. Sometimes I think you've got all these planets out there and they're affecting different things on the earth. They're affecting different parts of me depending on what's happening. But I've got no idea what it is and how I can best use that energy to continue on in my life. So thank you for explaining that. We will go in deeper. But I'd love to know, because you specialize or you really help sensitive and empathic people. So how does really astrology connect with the sensitive, with the nervous system and sensitive people? What planets affect us in that way?
In my mind, planets are themselves energetic bodies, and they occupy a specific part within our bodies as well as the signs. In the ancient times, we could map all signs and all planets within the body, and they rule specific parts of your health and your energy bodies, an expression of that. And the one thing that, when it comes to those who are really highly energetically sensitive, so empaths and highly sensitive individuals, those tend to be in people who have, say, moon with Uranus, moon with Neptune, or high amounts of Neptunian energy within the chart that touches other parts of the chart, say it's in the first house near the rising sign, those things can really impact an individual, whether that's natally or by transit. And for example, we just had, but also add that I feel like the air signs tend to have a lot of, because of there's so much mental energy, it's the air signs are about the mental realm, it's the social connections within us. And if there's a lot of that, say a lot of Gemini or Aquarius, there you could see those that are so mentally attuned that they're sensitive to everything around them because there's so much energy coming through them. Okay, that's a different experience than, say, somebody that is water oriented, which we tend to associate with the emotional empath individual. Those two are sensitive individuals. They're just experiencing that sensitivity differently. And the Gemini, Aquarius, or Uranian signatures that you may see in the chart could also be seen as like ADHD, maybe perhaps autistic ADHD, maybe, because there's a lot of this fast moving, blah, 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 this or that, or. And so the planetary makeup of the chart can really tell you a lot about the sensitivity of the individual. The empath part does tend to be water in nature. It tends to be in the realm of the moon and Neptune, because it creates things that are very illusionary and almost connections with another realm. And those who are really, whose chart may be heavy Neptune, may want to really just be in that realm and not here. They're not of the earth. And you can see that in society. We have people who we may see are like, man, they're like so out of it. They're just never tethered to the world. That to me is like big, airy, Neptunian, wild energy of wanting to be with the ethers and with the next level of consciousness. Like they just want to disappear into that.
Can we use our charts to help us in different things? So you mentioned, I think it was having a lot of Neptune is very similar to ADHD. But can we use our charts to help us with different symptoms?
Yeah. Yeah, you can, it's called remediation, or just even just looking at your elemental balance. For example, each sign represents an element, which whether it's water, air, fire, earth, and you can do specific activities so that you're channeling that energy in a different direction than, say, one that may cause you with issues. There's also like sympathetic magic where you're like, I don't necessarily want to do that level of activity, but if I direct it in a different way. I'll give you an example. So I have Mars, which Mars represents not only our anger and drive and energy and sexuality, it's, how we go and initiate things. So it's our courage, right? And for me, I have Mars in my 12th. The 12th house, the houses tell us where things play out in our lives. The 12th house is a place that is hidden. It's not visible. It's a place of rest. So what happens with me? My Mars, myself, my energy, my core of, hey, I've already done the work that I need to do. At the end of the day, I literally need to have a weighted blanket over me and have complete silence, no connection with anything, and completely recharge. Now, that might sound like you too, but not everybody knows that's a good way to remediate a Mars, which is to really take care of your own energy of doing actions where you need to retreat, you need to go back into the womb, for example. And it's also a very spiritual place. So I've spent a lot of time in developing my spirituality practices. And you can also use things like, because it's in the 12, it's also a place of service. So you could say, for example, set up a contribution, a donation to like firefighters, because that's my Aquarius, Mars in Aquarius. So I have this in my brain right now, but it could be to whatever is associated with that sign. So if it's Aries, it could be like those that are out there like climbing mountains, and you go and you support a GoFundMe that for those that are doing that. And you could do it anonymously or not. That is a way of directing the energy also, by playing to that planet's focus and role in the chart.
Sure. And you will help people understand all this.
So my task is to help you from the beginning, right? So you need to go back to the square zero, which is learning that there is such a thing as signs, because everybody wants to get to the point where like they're decoding it and coming up with ideas, but you can't really do that without learning what are the signs, like why are there 3 water signs and why are they different, why are there 3 air signs and why are they different, how are they different, what is the differentiation between them. And so, yeah, I start step by step. So we begin with learning about the signs. Then now we're getting into the planets. And then I'll likely do the planets and the houses together. But I have courses that people could do on their own pace. And I give them access to new content every single month to navigate this exploration. Because honestly, unless you're doing what I did, which was a devoted amount of time for over a year when I went to school, you're going to do it on your own. Have yourself a little program here where you follow step by step, because many people aren't in a hurry. I was like, I'm going to decode this all now. I want to know now.
Oh, everything. Yes, I'm a little bit like that too.
Yeah. Like we all have an obsessive place in us, and we all go through obsessive phases. Maybe not, but I do. And I utilized it for that.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And I definitely want to know more. I will certainly be checking out all your website and all your courses and offerings too. That will be in the links below. So thank you for that. Now you're talking a little bit about planets. Let's talk about this wonderful planet or 2 planets that tend to bring a lot of energy, and one is the moon. How does it really represent what we need to feel emotionally?
Yeah, the moon has a couple different phases. So the moon also represents the mother, and it's the mother nurturing archetype within the actual planetary makeup. And so the moon's placement in your chart speaks to what you really need to feel at home, to feel nurtured, to feel balanced in your emotional realm. It's your emotional rhythms. And your response to things emotionally have everything to do with the moon sign. And that moon changes signs every 2 to 3 days. Hence why many of us have different moons, right? And the relationship between the moon and the sun tells a lot about that chart, because generally that results in what we call like new moons and full moons. It's the interaction between them. And you can tell when you were born whether you were born under a new moon or full moon. Just look up where they are in your chart. But yeah, the moon ultimately helps us to navigate our emotional realm by identifying like, oh, okay, yeah, I do react this way. These are things that are important to me. This is the way that I could take care of myself. And it also tells us about relationship with our mother and what we learned, right? Because our first month, we're experiencing life through someone else, right? The majority of the early life, we're experiencing it through a filter,
Yes.
because they're making sure what you're going to see and what you're not going to see and what you're experiencing. And your senses are so open. Babies are like way more in tune with energy than we are, because by the time we get to our age, we've had wisdom and we've got scars and battle wounds and coping mechanisms. But that baby space of not really knowing what's what, it's absorbing it all and it's learning how to get what it needs. And that moon really will explain to you what that looked like. And yeah, the relationship with our mothers is the first real wounding that many of us have.
Yeah, yeah, and I hear you on that and totally agree. And it's also very important, as you said, that it's all through They're filters, especially for the very first early part of our lives and how it affects. And what about this wonderful planet that gets so much flack? Tell us about Mercury. And what does Mercury retrograde really mean? Why does it affect so much on our planet now?
So one of the things that I teach my students is to look at a chart and to look at the placement of their sun and then look at the placement of Venus and also Mercury. And you'll notice they're not far apart. The moon could be anywhere because it moves so fast. But Mercury travels very closely to the sun. It's never opposite the sun, ever. It's always near it. So Mercury in many people's charts tends to be the same sign as their sun sign. Therefore, their core of who they are is very much tied to the way they communicate and learn because they're together in the same sign. So they're expressing and they have this union of, yo, I understand you. Yeah, I understand you too. When Mercury goes retrograde, which is multiple times a year, 3 to 4 times, Mercury is just slowing down. That's all really what's happening. When planets are retrograde, it's just a slowdown period. And to our minds here on Earth, it appears that the planet is going backwards. But for some reason, the planet slowing down and us seeing that as going backwards, rewinding, redoing, revising is what ends up doing in our lives. So we are then muddled in our conversations. We misunderstand each other. We send out communications that weren't meant to be sent. We miss things. We miss the bus because we thought it was that, and so on and so forth. And it just makes everything a little bit more chaotic at times. And Mercury retrograde, and like any of the other retrogrades, whether it's Neptune, Saturn, Venus, Mars, the key thing that we should be doing those periods of time is to slow down and look at that area, that planet in our life, because it's giving us an opportunity for us to go back and possibly redo and revise, because all we do is move forward, go forward. For everybody's, no, let's just keep going, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going. And the retrograde peers are like, okay, humans, you've had enough fun now. Let's go back and look at what you've created. Do you want to continue with this? Does that look good? Awesome, let's keep going. If not, then this is the time for you to redo some things. And so, yeah, depending on your own chart, depending on what's happening in the chart, that retrograde period could be really great, and other times could be really not great.
And you want to hide underneath a blanket or
Yeah.
or in your retrograde cave, as I call it. But then there are other times where you make the most of that. You can feel the energy, you can feel that it's very, very powerful. And
Yeah. For me, Mercury retrograde is my most productive, and I love it. I love Mercury retrogrades, and just know that things will be a little weird and just go along with the world with that, knowing that, yeah, this might take 3 times longer to do things.
yeah. And you just accept it. Just accept it because you can't really change it. But as you said, you can go along with it and go along with the flow. And if it's not meant to work out today, if this doesn't meant to be today, it can be tomorrow or the next day, whenever that flow happens and that energy is all in alignment. Good for that. This is good. And Carolina, for someone who's watching and they're feeling like really overwhelmed with all the energy that's happening around, what is one simple way that they can use their birth chart to really ground, to let go of that overwhelm?
So, your birth chart is a talisman. And if you're interested in playing with energy, I would redraw your chart, get familiar with it, look at it. What are interesting patterns that you see on there? Draw it, draw over it, put affirmations around it, and then put some crystals on top and send yourself some love. The thing that people need to understand is that we all go through periods of struggle. That is part of life here on Earth. We cannot do away with it. Although I recently heard that Saturn's rings are dissolving. And I thought that's not good, because Saturn is our planet of reality. And that's why things seem to be so heavy for sometimes for people. It's either Saturn, Mars, or Pluto in play, bringing on the heaviness of energy into our lives, whether that's through a lesson or that's part of who we are. And we just haven't learned that's not how things work. Now, I'm painting things as like the norm, the typical. And there are people who are on the ends that are not the typical. People who have, for whatever reason, they're either past young, or they came into this life and they're born as Princess Diana. You could go down that rabbit hole. But your chart, you're like this person, your average person here watching this, your chart is your gifts. It's your gifts and your challenges. And it will tell you many things about what you're here to discover about yourself and how you can contribute to this world. And just recognize that however heavy things feel, it will pass. It will pass. It always does. Talk to people who are like 90, 100 years old. They've seen the cycles many times.
Yes, they have. Absolutely. And they've experienced it and got a lot of wisdom from them. So, yes, thank you for that. Now, I'm just looking at your website now, and you help people to understand astrology and their charts, but do you actually do readings for people?
Yeah, I actually do also readings for individuals. I offer a few different kinds, but the main one that people would sign up with me would be like a 30-minute consult where we do a video conversation and I walk over your chart with you and give you some tips and things like that. But yeah, I do that. And I have my membership and I have a Facebook group if people want to like get to know me a little bit more before dipping their toes in a little bit more seriously. And soon I'll be having a new membership for business owners who want to take on the wisdom of astrology into their business.
So, tell us about that. How does astrology help your business?
Your chart, your own natal chart, can tell you about your own audience, how you magnetize your mission and what you're here to create and offer. It tells me everything when it comes down to how you're going to make money and what you're going to be offering people. So it's no different than seeing your natal chart from a personal development perspective or personal growth. It will also give you the insights on how to use it to magnetize, to reach your audience, who your audience is, what they're resonating with, and so on.
Wonderful. Definitely have to check that out. Thank you for explaining that.
Yeah.
And what about for people who are really empathic? What is one thing to look for in their birth chart that will explain why someone is more empathic to others?
In why would it explain it? It really all depends on what is there in the chart. Water signs are very empathic. They're especially Pisces and Cancer and all three water signs, because they are living in the emotional realm and they have a level of sensitivity that others don't have. So they can pick up people's emotions without them actually speaking. And there are other placements. So the biggest thing to do is, if you're feeling like, yeah, I'm an empath, how can I use my chart for healing? It's to understand where are your energetic boundaries, because at the end of the day, most of the problems and challenges with empaths is not recognizing what is theirs versus somebody else's. And that practice of developing boundaries is very Saturn, very Saturnian, where you need to figure out, in order to be the author, the authority, and the master of your life, you need to learn how to do your boundaries, right? You need to learn what is no and how to cleanse your energy, how to ground yourself. Like, those are all practices that no matter where you are in your chart, you have to learn. I feel like COVID couldn't have been more of a alarm bell for people to realize, like, that was the lesson. That was what we needed to do in order to continue in society moving forward. As things become more chaotic for some, we need to learn how to navigate it with our tools in place.
Absolutely, we
So,
say, yeah. Yeah. Thank
yeah.
Thank you for that. And knowing all this would definitely help everyone, especially for sensitive people. But truly, because as you said, as life gets more chaotic, and it is. COVID, I thought COVID was a time to learn a lesson to slow down, where it's actually become the total opposite, and things are becoming more and more crazy because as we go more and more online, we're doing more stuff, we're putting more into our lives, we're wanting to experience more, and therefore everything is just so overwhelming for a lot of people, a lot of people.
Yeah, understanding. Here's the one thing that I would teach and that I would offer your audience. Look up your chart, write down all of the signs for your planets. So, okay, I have Venus in Gemini, I have Saturn in Sagittarius, I have blah, blah, blah. Look all those up and then look up the element for each of the signs and then count them up. Do you have more air? Do you have more water? Do you have a combination? Are you like quote unquote more balanced? Or are you like myself? I'm all air and water, and it explains a lot because I live in this intellectual social realm, but I'm a deep feeler. I like half the time I'm crying and I'm like, I don't know, but I'm just, it's just going to flow. And as a child, I would have been like so ashamed of that, right? Now I'm just like, nope, this is what needs to happen today. But knowing your elemental balance can give you a lot of insight of how you vibe and what you vibe with.
So for
And it
some,
will, you'll
yeah,
go
yeah.
ahead.
For someone who has a lot of air or a lot of water, what can they do to help that to maintain a balance in their life, in their especially in their emotional patterns?
Yeah, the when you have a lot of water in your chart, then you need to learn how not to be always in the emotion, to also recognize that there is a limitation without it bogging you down. So practices as being out there talking to somebody or having somebody listen to you create something or being near others, or perhaps you're being of service at a nursing home. So you're channeling that energy elsewhere. You're learning how to ground yourself. You're learning how to be okay with your emotions, even when they're really over the top. Like you see them, like, oh, I see they're being over the top. I need to bring it down. This is becomes a practice of self-awareness. It really is what it becomes. And then those who are so much in the air realm, they also can benefit from bringing things down into the realm of water. If you're really mental, and by mental, not crazy, but if you're really in the realm of communication, of I'm just going to talk about everything, and then blah, 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 and the other person on the other side is crying while you're talking, that lacks emotional intelligence because you're not seeing the impact of your words with someone that is obviously not emotionally well.
Yes.
And so the air signs need to learn at times how to be empathetic, to connect with the water.
To
And
connect with.
that's, yeah. And it's an awareness of, oh, crap, like this person's not picking up what I'm throwing down. And that's what I mean by like energetically off, right? You'll see this all the time. People are like, I don't know, they run me really wrong. I'm like, that person's not aware of themselves, and or you are oversensitive to that energy right now. And this is all a practice and a path of learning about ourselves and humans, and realizing that the other person on the other side is just another version of you. They're just, the wheel just got spun in a different way, but we all have the planets in this, all the signs. And yeah, that's my spiritual sense. That's where my spirituality comes in, where I'm like, you're just another version of me. And wow, this is cool. I've never seen your combination. Tell me about you.
Absolutely. And I agree. We're all out there. We are all different versions of each other. Some of us, people are out there to mirror us, and otherwise we mirror other people. We've just got to be able to get to the stage where we can connect with all those different versions of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you. And what about for you, Carolina? I'd love to know for you personally, have you ever personally felt like your sensitivity was too much. And what
Mhm.
helps you reframe that?
Yeah, I spent, I would say, like the majority of my early life very reactive, emotionally sensitive. I'm a Cancer sun, Pisces rising, Libra moon, for those who know astrology a little bit. And so the Cancer sun individual is like learning how to be the most emotionally intelligent, nurturing person without getting hung up in their own feelings and projecting or picking up things that are not theirs, that their own. And so my journey was that of trying to figure out like what was mine, what wasn't, what could I do? And over time, I don't know, I feel like that was just a natural development for me of discovery of, oh, is this what I need to learn? Is this true? Because your mind is very powerful. We forget that our mind and our ego ultimately just wants to keep us alive. And if that means lying to you, it will.
Mhm.
And if it means keeping you small and safe, it will. This is just an ancient DNA coding of survival mechanisms, but right now we're not being chased by animals anymore, unless that's your dog and your kitty. So this is old wiring within us. And in many ways, we're not aligned with how our ancestors were born and lived. We live much more sedentary lives and spend way too much time in our brains, which creates stories that our emotions will pick up and run wild with. So my practice over time led me, sadly, for me, I changed it. I was on Prozac, I'd say, for 10 some years before I changed it and went on to psychedelic mushrooms for like my own mental health and changes of rewiring of my own neural pathways, therapy, dance, chanting, meditation, you name it. I've done so much energy healing practices and work. And for me, the most thing that has been the most critical has been dance.
Mm.
Yeah.
Totally agree with that one too, because it definitely shifts your energy and releases a lot of the trauma that we've
Mm-hmm.
suppressed in our muscles and our cells and everything. So yes, dance, especially the ecstatic dancing.
That's what I do.
Yes.
I'm an ecstatic dancer as well. Yeah, I love ecstatic dance. It's been one of the most healing practices I've ever had. It makes me very emotional because it's I've done like buck naked out in the woods with ecstatic dance, and I felt so alive. No ounce of shameness of nothing of anything, just like a kid. And I'm blessed because I can move my body. Not many of us can move the body, but I am blessed because I can. And I've left a lot of junk on the dance floor.
And on the earth, when allowing the earth to absorb your junk and to get rid of it and refresh yourself with that energy. And I can just imagine it being butt naked, dancing in the
Yeah.
you're at one with nature.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing that. It's very
Yeah.
inspirational. And for everyone out there who wants to shift some of your stuff, go out and dance in nature, whether it's naked or not, but be at
Mm-hmm.
one with nature. It is incredibly healing. And I'd love to know, Carolina, before we wrap up, just a couple of more questions. What's your favorite planet to work with and why?
Yeah, my favorite planet to work with is Jupiter, and Jupiter is my chart ruler. It is the planet. It's known as the Great Benefic, meaning it brings good things, but Jupiter expands whatever it touches. And if you like to eat and Jupiter's having a transit around you, you might just expand your waistline. But Jupiter for me is the place where I know where I find my most expansion of the mind, of spirit, of the soul, and that's teaching because Jupiter is the archetype of teaching, but it also sits in a place of teaching in my chart. So I'm here to teach. I'm also here to be a foreigner. And because it's in Scorpio, I'm here to really explore the depths of the occult, of the things that are the taboo. That's my expansion. And Jupiter, from working on Thursdays right now, Jupiter Day. Hello, Jupiter. Is why I like to do a lot of things either on Wednesday or Thursdays because it fits with my chart and I'm able to navigate and pull in that energy. So when I work with planets, I do many different things. I use talismanic materia that could look like as simple as like tonics, vials that have been created by very special people that are creating those types of things. And I'll do a chant, I'll light a candle, and then I'll do the things that the planet asks me to do and go on my day. Yeah, Jupiter is one of my favorites.
Love it. And what about one planet that tends to be misunderstood?
Saturn. Everybody dislikes Saturn. And I think Saturn is why many of us suffer in life. And that's our relationship with discipline. And what is it required to be disciplined? And why is that so scary for some to be responsible? And Saturn is known as like the father archetype in astrology, as well as karma and longevity and limitations and setbacks. And everybody goes through their Saturn return, and if you're lucky you'll go through it twice, three times. I've had my first, I'll be coming up on my second in several years. So yeah, about 5, 6 years from now. What would I say else about Saturn? I think Saturn's presence is significantly more out there in the general collective that we don't realize that's really what's happening, because Saturn also creates the laws and the structure of our reality, of our society, right? And we're currently going through a significant change with regards to all of this right now, and that's Saturn. That's the realm of Saturn. So yeah, Saturdays are Saturn's day. And if you notice, everybody on Saturdays, like, I have a to-do list. I've worked all week and now I have to go and do my things. Or that's when we go and tidy up our homes. We're like, today I'm going to clean. That's Saturn at play.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good. Definitely want to know more. And for anyone out there who also would like to know more, especially about Saturn returns and everything else that Caroline has talked about, click on those links below. And Caroline, it has been a wonder to chat with you. I'd like to chat with you again, so please do come back. But before we go, we were talking about that you have a moon cycle meditation journal. So tell us about that and how a lot of people, not meditation, manifestation, sorry, you have
Mhm.
a moon cycle
Yeah.
manifestation journal.
Mhm.
Tell us about that and how, because a lot of people talk about the moon and manifestation together. So what
Yeah.
with that?
Yeah. The reason why those two get combined, because the moon cycles is an actual cycle growth of development that you can go and look up the farmer's almanac if you're in the States. I don't know if they have them in Britain, but the farmers have known this for a long time. When do you plant seeds? When do you harvest? All of that is moon aligned. In fact, our calendars originally in societies were lunar based before they became solar based. So the lunation cycles, when we have, say, a new moon, that is when you are planting things, like just when you would in the soil, right? You want to plant seeds into the soil when the soil is dark, right? The way it's not exhausted of its juices. No, it's rich. That's the new moon. And then when you really show that stuff off in the full moon. So the cycles of the moon as it journeys through the zodiac each month offers us new cycles of productivity, of manifestation, of intention work, because you can work and literally ride the wave of the moon with whatever it is that you're calling in. And manifestation, in my mind, there's so much conversation in this in the collective, because everybody would like to manifest everything, right? And I feel this is the result of some planetary transits that we recently had, mainly Neptune and Pisces, that made us all delusional. Manifestation I would love to hear your thoughts of this if you see the same, but for me, manifestation does not work without action.
Yes,
There, right? Like, I will not become a lottery winner if I don't buy the lottery.
yes.
And I don't know how else to say that. In manifestation, in my world, in astrological perspective, we're talking about the mind, the heart, the words, and my action need to be aligned. And ideally, I'm layering the planetary cycles and astrology on top of that.
Mhm.
And we're not always in that space. We may think we are, but I've definitely have been like, oh, I'm doing all the check boxes. But if my heart is truly not in it, it won't happen. And the moon cycles can help us with where to concentrate our energies and ride the wave of development as we put our intentions out there, our manifestation intention and action. For you to get the job that you want to get, then you need to have the skills. Do you have the skills? Then you better go get the skills. Do you have the network? Then you better get your network. That's how manifestation really works in my mind.
Yeah. And it's so very true. And yes, we do have to put the action in first, especially buying that lottery ticket and really going with the energy of the planets and especially of the moon. We're not going to be that's not true. We can manifest all the time, both on a positive level, a high energy level, and just day-to-day things. But if we really connect with the energy of the moon, that's when we can definitely work into our manifestation. So you offer your moon cycle manifestation journal. So
Yeah.
for anyone who would like one, just again, click on those links below. Thank you. And Carolina, the last question before we wrap up, is there any other question that I could have asked you? And how would you answer? Is there anything
Yeah.
like
I feel like most people, when they talk to astrologers, they want to know what's going to happen in the future. And if you would have asked me that a couple years ago, I would have said, get ready because now we're in it. And that's to laugh at some of the misery that is out there because there's always misery. And that we seem to forget that lesson as well, is that never since the day of mankind has there ever been a consistent joyous day across the whole world. That's not reality. And the changes that are going on astrologically right now are ones that for the most part we haven't seen in a long time, and certainly not in these configurations. And so, do I know 100% what's going to happen in the future? No, but I can guarantee you what will be happening, which is we are leaving behind an old way of living,
yes,
an old way of relating, and perhaps how to be human. Technology will continue to speed up at record speeds, significantly more than the last 30 years in record speeds. And we have to decide as humans of where we will fit within that and what is us and what is not.
yes, absolutely. And I agree with that too, especially with the technology speeding up. Life will be extremely different this time next year. Definitely. So thank you for that. And for anyone else who would like to know about the future, what's going to your future, the planet's future, everyone else's future, reach out to Carolina because you never know what can happen and what you can find out. So thank you. And definitely click on those links below for your courses. I've been checking out, very interested in your Facebook group. So you offer a wealth of wisdom, and I'm honored to be able to chat with you. So thank
Thank you.
ever so much for coming on the Pathways to Wellbeing, and I hope to talk to you again very soon.
Thank you so much for having me and hosting me. I've really enjoyed talking and sharing this with everybody. Thank you.
Wow, what a wonderful and inspiring conversation with Carolina, who shared her experience and wisdom of all things astrological and how knowing our natal charts can help us to live a more soul aligned life. Reach out to Carolina, even if it is just for a chat. Visit her website to explore everything that she has to offer, including her moon cycle manifestation journal. All the links are below. For more empowering conversations, tools, and strategies, do follow Sacred You on all our social media or visit our website at www.sacredyou, that's the letter U, .love. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button or give us a like so that you never miss another episode. Whether you are a corporate dropout or a mystic, Carolina has something to offer you, including all her natal chart readings. Thank you so much for tuning into our podcast. Stay grounded, stay inspired, stay connected, and until next time, keep walking your pathway to well-being.